Hi, everybody. Welcome to Spark Change, where we hope to connect, inform, and inspire you to create positive change in your life and in your community. If you are watching this during the live stream, say hello in the chat. And if you have questions, please put those in the chat as well, and we will answer those after the presentation. So I would like to introduce you to Beth Neu. Beth has spent over 30 years of her life in community and economic development. And she's done a great job in cities like Fort Wayne, Roanoke, and Arlington, Virginia. So she's got a lot of information. Okay. Hi, Beth. How are you?
Hi, Maria. I'm great. Thanks for asking me to be part of Spark Change.
Oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate you being here. Um, do you have anything you'd like to tell everybody before the presentation?
Well, my presentation, of course, is on community development. And I'd just like to say that Maria invited me to be part of this. And I said, "Are you sure you want me to be part of this? Because I'm retired now." As Maria mentioned, I spent over 30 years of my career in community and economic development. And I had some wonderful jobs, some great opportunities, some exciting experiences along the way in a couple different communities. And I'm back in my hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana now, retired and enjoying life here with my husband and children and grandchildren. But I'm still part of community development, even as a retiree. I'm involved in the St. Vincent de Paul Society, so do some volunteer work there. I also serve as a docent at the Allen County Courthouse in downtown Fort Wayne, and then I also enjoy travel around the country and travel to various community events and play cards. I'm in two different card groups, so
Oh,
as
something's
much as I
happening here.
enjoyed, pardon
Sorry,
me.
there was something that was going on this side.
Oh, okay. As much as I enjoyed my career, I'm enjoying every minute of retirement just as much, if not more. So hopefully somebody else will get there someday too.
Thank you. Sorry about that interruption. That was another technical difficulty here.
No problem.
So, um, are you ready to start?
Sure. Um,
Okay,
Again,
let's.
the title is "Why is Community Development Important to You, and why is it important to me?" Hopefully, some of the folks that'll be watching this or listening in the future heard some of the other speakers today or yesterday, and I think they were great. I was fortunate to sit in on a couple of them. But anyway, so you'll get a feel for why community development is important from their aspects, but I think is, probably important to, maybe review or end with, defining what community development really is. And of course, you start with community. What is community? Well, communities do not exist independently of people. Communities are made up of people, whether they be your local town or your city or your county or the region that you live in, a geographic community, so to speak. But they also exist as we heard Reverend Nikki Shaw talk yesterday. There's your church community, and there's your social community. They can be communities of particular interests or activities, such as if you're in a running group or a biking group, or you play a particular sport, or are a part of a musical organization of some sort. So there are a lot of communities. They're not just definitely a physical or a geographic community that exists, but usually when we talk about community development, I think that's what most people think of. Um, but really, individuals are what make up a community. A community doesn't exist independently. A community exists to socialize and relate people to each other. So, what individuals bring to their particular community of interest really shapes what that community looks like over the long term. So, again, a community, can just exist by itself, but it doesn't exist if people don't activate and participate in that community. So then we also think about development, and the other word in community development and defining it. Of course, most of us look at development as some sort of improvement. Generally, You look at development in the physical aspects. So you see a new bridge being built or a new building being under construction or a park getting some improvements made to it. But there's also human development and social development. On the human development side, of course, you have to have a healthy community. And health is, your environment is healthy. You have, good facilities, but you also have human health. We look at, are you individuals being well cared for from a human aspect, both in how they're treated by each other, and then again their basic physical existence. And are they exposed to dangerous chemicals? Are they exposed to unhealthy atmosphere or unhealthy foods or such? And then again, the social development aspect is it as well. Do we have opportunities to engage socially? Do we appreciate each other no matter what age and active life that they're in? Are we able to provide cultural opportunities for people to participate in? So when we think of development, we're thinking not only just the physical improvements but also the social and the human aspects. Again, development usually has a connotation of growth. Not necessarily growth in size. Usually it means growth in size, but not just growth in size. I think if anybody heard Todd Zeiger's presentation today, you also think of community development as an opportunity to preserve your unique character. And generally, from the historic preservation side of it, you're thinking about preserving historic buildings, something that was built that shows the dignity and the era and what your ancestors thought were important and wanted to keep and preserve at their time. So you're showing that community development and you're preserving it as well as growing it. And then, of course, development generally has a connotation of change. If you're not changing, you're not growing. If you're not changing, you're not improving. So, and change is kind of inevitable, but you want to make sure that that change is managed and that it is well thought out and planned for what, again, the inhabitants of your community are looking to do and wanting to do to make their community the most attractive to themselves, and for people that want to come in the future. So that's pretty much the definition of community development that we'll be talking about in this presentation today. So I was hoping to make this a little bit more interactive, but I don't see that we have too many people on the live stream session right now. But, think in terms of Angola and Steuben County. What have you seen in the last 10 years as good examples of community development? And I'll pause here in case there are people that want to think about it or add something in the chat.
Hey, Beth, I'll pop in here for a moment. So, what have we seen here in Angola in the last 10 years? I can say that we have an increased, we have a better and more cohesive art community, I think, than we had before. There is a lot more traffic, I've noticed, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I guess it depends on what you would call positive traffic versus negative traffic. And we see a lot more activity in downtown than we have in the past. So, and I'm speaking from a person who lives, works, and plays in downtown. So that's what I'm seeing. Um, I hope that helps a little bit as far as at least Angola goes. I mean, I can say Fort Wayne. I mean, I can even look because I love Fort Wayne. My daughter has an apartment in Fort Wayne. So, and she just graduated from University of St. Francis. I had to say that. I'm sorry, but yeah, Fort Wayne with Promenade Park, with the landing where they closed that off. to create an incredible event space, multi-use space. Being able to fill a lot of that with restaurants as well. I can say that about Fort Wayne. So if there's other people on here that are from outside of Steuben, I think those are things that I've seen there too. But Angola, Steuben, it's grown. Lots of people, more people on the lakes, housing development. Here's a negative again: lack of housing space. Space for that. I think we're going to have to start thinking about density of people. So I
Mhm.
guess that's a positive and negative right there. So resources as far as strain on resources as well. We see that.
Yeah, great. Well, and I agree with you, Maria. And of course, I've been to Angola several times in recent years, and I really think the arts have taken a real hold in Angola, and the sculpture tour that you guys are doing now is really phenomenal. So, and that's kind of unique. You don't see that going on in every community across the state or across the country. But again, it allows people to participate and allows people to engage in the arts and see something that they can be proud of, and stands out as something that would attract somebody to visit that might otherwise not come to Angola. And of course, there are always negative aspects to increased traffic, even though you want increased traffic because you want people to come and see things. Increased traffic has, the downside too. But an exercise I was hoping that people would participate in, then, if you're from Angola, would be, what would you say to someone and a postcard who has never been to Angola? What does Angola look like today? Why should they come and visit? And I'll pause here for a few seconds. If no one else is on the live stream, we'll let Maria write up a postcard, but I'll just pause for about 30 seconds to, you know, let her put her thoughts together. And if, again, anybody else is on the live stream, we'll ask you to share what you would put in a postcard to somebody you might want to hope would visit Angola. Great, we have one response. If others cannot see it, I'll go ahead and read it. But for those who are not able to read the chat box or watch this later, someone has shared, Angola is a place that honors its heritage but looks to a brighter future. What a great comment. And since there aren't other people participating, I'll go ahead and respond from a Fort Wayne perspective. If I was sending a postcard from Fort Wayne, I'd say, this is a beautiful downtown. They shared that they have expanded their parks and recreation opportunities and have the new Promenade Park here, which is open for all kinds of activities and is on the river, as well as a historic county courthouse, which is one of the most beautiful county courthouses in our nation. And for those of you who don't know it, the Allen County Courthouse is on the National Register of Historic Places, and the artwork inside is absolutely astounding and amazing. So that's what I would share about Fort Wayne. I think there's lots of things to do and see here. Fort Wayne is famous for its Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, and again, several parks that offer a lot of amenities, from golf to swimming to hiking as well. So that's what I would share about Fort Wayne. Moving on now, because we really want to make this interactive and something for people to take forward in the future, because of course the title is Spark Change. What would you say to someone in a postcard 10 years from now about Angola or your community? Looking forward, what has changed? And it could be for the positive or it could be for the negative. So again, I'll give about 30 seconds for people to put their thoughts together on what do you anticipate would change. Maybe with something you want to see or something you don't want to see. One of the comments in the chat box is Angola is a melting pot of cultural amenities from food to art to events. So 10 years from now, Angola has added, I assume, some additional food venues or art venues, and new events are taking place that are allowing people to participate maybe at a greater level. So that's a postcard from the future. So again, you might want to think of this in terms of your own community, things that need to be improved or things that you personally would want to see improved, or maybe things that you've heard about from others. Or you could be in fear of something that might happen, and what can you do to make sure that something negative does not happen in your community? So thinking along those lines, then, what would be a game changer for your community going forward? In order to make something positive happen, what would that be? What would need to be put in place? Is it something from a financial standpoint? Is it something from a leadership standpoint? What would be a real game changer in order to make some new development happen or some positive event take place in your community? So is this something that is your own idea that you've thought about yourself? Or have you had conversations with others or just heard other people maybe talking about it? If so, why do you think that's true? Why do you think people want to see that? If it's not something you've heard from others, did you come upon this idea? How did you come upon this idea yourself? Have you visited other communities where this has been successful or that you've found people enjoying, or something that you've heard from others that really resonated with you for a particular reason? And why do you think it would work in your community? So I suggest in going forward, if you have an idea or you've heard some great ideas that you think you'd like to see moving forward, talk to at least 3 people in your community. It could be somebody you know well, somebody whose opinion you um, very much appreciate, or it could be somebody you really don't know very well and you want to get to know them better. Could be a neighbor, somebody you meet at the grocery store, somebody that you work with. Is there a groundswell of people that would make this happen? Um, and if not, why not? But share what you've learned at this workshop these last 2 days, whether it be in historic preservation or in promoting the arts or in being a more vibrant community in terms of your environment. So start with, hey, I was just at this workshop the last 2 days, and you know what I learned? See if they have a response and make note of their response. Or ask the question, what do you think about, the arts as it is today? What do you think if we expanded, whatever it is in the downtown or one of your parks or again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical attribute. It could be something dealing with mental health or childcare or anything that deals with your human environment as well as your physical environment. So talk to at least 3 different people, hopefully somebody you know well and value their opinion, and maybe somebody new that you haven't talked to about in a long time. And then identify who has the ability to make those changes. What would need to take place in order to have that actually happen? Is it a financial obligation? Is it somebody that has to make a decision that has the authority to implement, whether it be a zoning change or a land use change, or it could be any number of things that are required? Do building permits have to be issued? Do you need a groundswell of support? Do you need to have government support? Do you need to go to the state government? If it's a road improvement, is it a county road or a state route? So is there support beyond your own little neighborhood or your own family, so to speak, to make sure that this takes place and can happen? One of the comments is there needs to be a groundswell of people who need to make change. That's just what it seems like. And sometimes that is true, but sometimes it's surprising what the work of 2 or 3 people can do if they continue to advocate and find the right people to listen to their suggestion. And also, again, if it's a funding issue, find the right people to support it financially. So what can we do now? If you've thought of these things, you've talked to at least 3 or 4 people, you know who the supporters are going to be, and maybe you've even identified who the opponents are going to be. So many times you have proponents and opponents. Sometimes you have that silent majority that you never hear from. But what do you need to do in order to make something go forward? First of all, you can identify supporters, and generally they're out there. I think Dan Ross talked about that a little bit in his presentation about the arts. Uh, there are supporters if you're willing to go out and find them and to share your vision. Who else in your community then is a supporter and would share that vision or that idea? Who would maybe be an advocate for you? And communication is key. You just can't keep your idea to yourself. You do have to share it and make sure it is shared and communicated in a positive way, and in multiple ways. Not just talking about it verbally to your next door neighbor or to your sister or brother. Can you start a billboard campaign? Can you put up a chalkboard in the downtown that says, "Hey, have you ever thought of this?" Do something unique. Find ways to communicate through others. Obviously, social media is very big. Of course, we have the Spark Change website. Is this something that you want to see if we can have on the Spark Change website going forward? So communicate in several different ways with several different people at all kinds of opportunities. So basically, to wrap it up, if there aren't any other comments or questions, why is community development important to me? If you want something to change or expand or improve, you need to first of all identify it, verbalize it, and you often need to be the catalyst to make it happen and find your support group and those who are willing to take the next steps with you. So are you willing to take the next steps to make sure that community development continues in Angola, Steuben County, or wherever you're from? That's what keeps your community growing and thriving. So thank you. And if there are no other questions, I'll just pause and wait for a minute. If not, good luck. And thank you again, Maria, for putting this together and asking me to be part of this.
Thank you, Beth. I have a question. You were talking about growth in communities, and I think it seems that there are people who define growth differently, whether that's economic growth, growth of population. Um, can you talk about responsible growth versus constant growth, which I think it feels unsustainable, but I feel like it appears to me that our world, particularly economically, is relying on constant growth uh, to survive. And how do we do that with limited resources, limited land, limited gas, limited all these limitations? How do we sustain something like that?
Right. Excellent question, excellent observation. And I agree with you too. Sometimes it seems like the definition of growth is, oh, we have to increase the population or we have to increase our tax base, which of course generally are, good things, but we do have limited resources. I mean, not just in the United States, but obviously worldwide, whether it be water resources or, energy. And of course, we're also looking for in other forms of energy. I mean, you learned about the pollution caused by fossil fuels over the years. So people are looking to wind or solar or other, clean environmental type of energy sources. So, yeah. But getting back to your basic question is growth and development only defined by increase in population and increased investment? Yes and no. There can be growth without um, increase in population, but I think it has to be an awareness of first of all, again, what you want to see. And not everybody has the same definition or the same idea. That's why it's important to talk to others. But can we have a sustained uh, economic system without growing the population and growing the tax base? And it is, but again, it has to be managed well. And it has to be things that you want to prioritize. So again, I think we can all look maybe even at our own household. Gee, I want to buy this and that, but my significant other or spouse wants to buy that or that. So so you have to make choices because we all do have limited resources. So you have to come to an agreement as to what is the most important, either for your community or your household, to move forward. And within your limited resources, that's probably going to set the tone. From, again, I'll look at it as a political or a community level. Again, that's why you have elected officials making the decisions that they do, and hopefully uh, they're making wise decisions based on good knowledge, good input from the citizens, and they're respecting the citizens and the reality of the situation. Does
Mhm.
that help at all?
Yeah, I just limitation of funding seems to be in rural communities seems to be really a big thing, and the reliance on grants and other things like that. Um, as we're looking at the I don't know what you call it, the disparity between the haves and have-nots, whether that's an
Mhm.
organization, uh, have and have not, nonprofits, for profits, individuals. Funding seems to be a huge wall to hurdle, and
Mhm.
being able to know where those resources are is a challenge, especially if you're a single person and you've got you know you have got something that you just feel like has to happen. Um, so, where do you think that individual, like, let me give a specific example. Say that individual wants to promote the arts, and they're a painter, and they want to make sure that there's development happening in their rural community. How would they find the resources and the allies they need to do what they need to do in their community, within their community, because they got to start local, right?
Right, right. Excellent question, and I think that's very valid. It is definitely a challenge. If there's not an individual, kind of sugar daddy, so to speak, that you have in your community that's willing to take that on, even though you should start local, sometimes there are state resources, and particularly you mentioned the arts or an artist. There is the Indiana Arts Council, and a lot of times they will make an individual effort to go out to specifically a small community. But it's kind of one at a time. Again, there's the Indiana Commission for the Arts. They have some resources. They might take on a specific project or two or three each year. Obviously, they're very big in the bigger cities like Fort Wayne and Indianapolis, but they'll go out to the rural cities too. But how many rural cities are there? And then they might only pick two or three each year, so sometimes you have to wait your turn. It is definitely a bigger challenge for the rural communities, but I guess I would say don't give up. Talk to some other rural communities, look at other examples that might be in another state. But you'll find some, and I think Decatur, Indiana, Angola, Indiana, they both did the sculpture tour, and I think they were pretty successful. And so don't give up. Look at some other small community your size that has been a success, and ask them that same question: how did they get started? Who did they depend on?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we can build a little community with Spark Change. I'm hoping that that can happen, so that there are people who are like minded who would like growth to happen in their particular way, and that we can share information on that and where they can get resources as well. So that's part
Right.
of the mission here to do that. So hopefully, hopefully,
Yeah.
thanks. I really
Yeah.
appreciate
Sure.
everything that you
Don't give
did.
up. Keep asking the question, and
Yeah,
it might be in an unusual place. I mean, again, hopefully there's a state agency that can lead you in the right direction. But every once in a while, it's like, hey, did you know about this? And it's like, no, but my friend over here, has a cousin who is blah blah blah, and you go, oh, So sometimes it comes
yeah.
from an unlikely source.
Yeah, so show up at those installations for the sculptures here in Angola and meet the artists because they have a lot to say. And they were part of the initial, at least the current ones here, were part of the initial development of the Decatur sculpture tour. So if there is somebody who is interested in that, there's also a lot of resources. Beth is a great resource. Granted, she's retired, but she is a great resource. But Ball Straight, who she used to work with, is a great resource as well, um, for community and economic development. And let's see, let's try to name some of the other resources today. Your pastor would know. They have meetings. All the pastors in your town probably have their own meetings, and they know things that happen in their parishes
Right.
and in their flocks. So they're probably not some that you might think of to contact, but they are people who are connected to the community in a very distinct way. So knowing, I think, where your audience is, who are the people you're trying to reach, and just connecting with those people. And for all you introverts out there, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it's hard. It's hard, but sometimes those people are meeting, and you just may not know it. And there are some people who just want to create meetings and get to know people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. It's
don't
especially
give
hard
up.
if you're an introvert, but if you're, if you have at least a slight bit of extrovert in you, or somebody that can even ask for you, again, I'll use art as an example. So gosh, I've been a painter. I've had my, artwork out on my lawn. No one drives by, whatever. You go to your dentist and you say, hey, you could use some art on your wall. how about if I put a couple pictures up here, for free? And, would you at least display it in your office? And I know restaurants that have done that, have displayed artwork for individuals, and then they'll put a price tag on them, and some of them sell, some of them don't. But, at least first of all, you've decorated their walls for them for free. And then second of all, you've given it an opportunity for other people to look at it and say, maybe it's not their thing, but it's like, oh, I saw this kind of, picture that I know is from a local artist. If you're interested in local art, talk to my dentist, or, which is unusual, or go to this restaurant or wherever it might be. So that's
Right.
it. And the same with singing. Maybe you're a vocalist and you really enjoy singing, but you don't have a community choir in your community because it's too small. Well, start with a trio, start with a quartet. Hey, there's a park, and maybe we could put on a free concert some Sunday afternoon, just the four of us. Would you be, and then, somebody picks you up. Hey, we need a singer for my son's wedding, blah, 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 whatever it
Yeah.
is. So, you know,
Yeah.
you have to be a little innovative and creative, and don't forget to ask anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Be tenacious, be persistent. That is a huge thing. And it is,
Mhm.
I see a lot of, parallels with entrepreneurship as well, right? It's a
Definitely.
venture. So that's really what it is. You're going on a venture, and you're seeking allies and support. So that, I think that's really important, because none of us can do it alone. I mean, we can try, but it's helpful to have more people on board.
Right.
Um, and speaking of that, I thank you very much for being on board with this. And I'm hoping that in the restreams, we have more traction. But we'll be sharing these as they live on the internet. And I'm hoping that I can come back to you and say, look, that's how we started. That's
Yeah.
so I am right there. If anybody wants to start anything, I am right there in the thick of things. So if you want to contact me, please do. Please do. Let me know in the comments. I'll definitely let you know and connect with you. Absolutely. Because I'm right there with you.
Right. Well, thank you for all your hard work in putting this together, and for everything going on up in Angola and Steuben County. I think you guys are really making some strides.
Yeah, we are, and we look to the future, right? So that's great. So with that, um, if you could hang out backstage just for a minute, is there anything else that you'd like to add? We do have a few more minutes, but if there's anything else you'd like to add, please do.
Uh, I don't have anything else. Just good luck. Best wishes to all.
All righty. All right. If you can hang out backstage, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Okay, everybody. If you liked this content, and you want to subscribe, please do subscribe to the Folia Nova YouTube channel, and sign up for updates on Spark Change and Folia Nova and any new projects that are coming up. So let us know also what you'd like to learn about for the future, so we can get that out to you. We like to do more of these things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a live stream. It could be just videos that we're producing and sending out there. So please scan the QR code and let us know. And with that, let's all work together to make the world a better place. Thank you for watching. You are very appreciated.